Yes, the best move here for white is to play queen takes f7, rook takes f7, and boom, checkmate. Very nice checkmate. Notice that the rook is pinned. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So this is a woman chess grandmaster Atusa, and if you know me, then welcome back. So today I want to show you a very nice game by no other than the legendary Mikhail Tal. A lot of you guys asked me about his games because, you know, he was a very tactical player, a very aggressive player, and his games are really exciting. If you like tactical games, if you want to learn how to calculate in chess, even in complicated positions, and if you don't know how to attack the king, then this video is definitely for you. So stay tuned until the very end, where Mikhail Tal shows a masterpiece in this game. Okay, anyway, so let's dive into the game. As you can see, Mikhail Tal is playing as white, and Darga Klaus is playing as black here. And this game was played in 1960, so about like 63 years ago. Okay, so Mikhail Tal was the former world champion. He became the world champion in for 2 years. So white started with e4, black played c5. Exciting, right? We have Sicilian Defense. Nowadays, it's really rare that in top level you see Sicilian Defense, especially in classical games. But back then, people wanted to fight, so they just started with c5. So it means that we have an exciting and attacking game here. So white here played knight f3, e6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, d6. So now we have Scheveningen variation in Sicilian Defense. All the moves are theory, even playable nowadays, and all is normal. So here Tal decided to play g3, which is not an aggressive move, but you will see what would happen later on. So the moves that usually considered to be the best move here is to play g4, thanks to the chess engines. Nowadays we have strong computers, right? But back then it was tricky to push the pawn to g4. So that's why Tal played g3 here. And black played a6, bishop g2, queen c7, short castle, bishop e7. So the players are developing their pieces. As you know, one of the principles in the opening is to get our pieces out as soon as possible. So here white played f4. As you can see, Mikhail Tal started to attack, right? So after f4, black played knight c6, knight takes c6, b takes c6, and e5. Very nice move. It seems that the pawn on e5 is in danger, right? But no, because we have a counterattack here. So let's say if black takes, which he did in the game, and then after this capture, black played knight d7. But let's say here, if black takes the pawn on e5, we can take the pawn on c6, and it's just a winning position for white. We have a fork, we're gonna win the rook, and this is absolutely winning for white. So that's why black moved the knight back to d7. So after knight d7, white played bishop f4 because the pawn was hanging on e5. Black wanted to take the pawn with the knight this time. But after bishop f4, black cannot take. Why? Because we can still take the knight and do the same fork, right? So that's why here black castled. Black moved the king into safety. And now white played knight e4, which is a logical move in such positions. Now this knight is in the center, we have this idea knight d6, sometimes knight g5, depending how the pieces are on the board. So here Darga played bishop e7, and guess what? We need to checkmate the king. That's the goal in chess, right? So queen h5, moving the queen towards the king side. Black played g6, and then white moved back to e2. Why? Because white wanted black to push the pawn to create some weaknesses. So you might say, okay, why didn't he just move the queen to e2 with one tempo? Why did he wasted one tempo here or one time here? But the point here is that when the pawn is on g6, actually black's king side is weaker. So we want to provoke this pawn to move to g6 so white can attack the weaknesses later on. And as I always say, and also in my previous YouTube videos, when this pawn moves to g6, it's not just about these two squares, but also about these 5 squares. So 5 squares are more vulnerable after pushing this pawn to g6. Okay, so now black pushed the pawn to c5, knight f6 check, bishop takes, pawn takes, and notice that black cannot take the pawn because we have a discovered attack here. Discovered attack is one of the tactical themes that you need to know, guys. If you don't know, just write me in comment section and I will create a video about discovery attacks and discovery checks. Okay, so here black played e5 to block the bishop, and bishop takes e5. Why? Because the queen is kind of overloaded here. So after knight takes e5, white can take the bishop, and the queen was protecting both of these pieces, right? So we take here, and if the queen takes, we can take the knight on e5. That's why black didn't take. We are attacking the rook on a8. Black played rook b8 in this position. Although computer doesn't like this move. Computer likes queen takes b7 here, actually. So black played rook b8. White moved the bishop back to d5. This is also a very important move. So white wants to plant his bishop on d5. So if we can, for example, move our pawn to c4, then our bishop is really strong on d5. We don't need to go all the way back to g2 to have our traditional, fianchettoed bishop. We can just move to d5. We are pinning this pawn, and we have potential attacks on the king side. So here black played rook b6, which was not a good move, and here white got a huge advantage, I would say. But what was a better move for black? A better move for black was to push the pawn to c4 to avoid white c4 basically in the position, and also black wants to prepare for a fork, right? We have a double attack here. So this was a better move. But after rook b6, white can attack the king side very fast. One of the moves here is c4, which is interesting. Another move is rook ae1 to attack the knight. The knight is under attack, the knight has to move. And the knight moved to d7 to also put pressure on the pawn at f6. And here, white played queen e7. So if you have seen my previous videos, you know that 7th rank are very important for us. So if you can move your rooks or even your queen to the 7th rank, usually you can get advantage. And here, after queen e7, not only we are pinning the knight, so the knight can no longer move, but also this queen is putting pressure on the king side as well. So this is a very good move. And here black is kind of in zugzwang. It means that black doesn't have a good move. If the knight moves, we can win the queen. If the rook moves, we can win this pawn and checkmate the king. Easy peasy. And the rook can't move, the knight can't move. If this rook moves, I mean, the rook doesn't have a great move. Maybe rook d6, but even after that move, I can play rook d1 or I can play c4 to protect my bishop. So that's why in this position, black played c4. Now, the idea is to play queen c5 and exchange the queens or some sort of, counterattack. And here, white played a prophylactic move. Guys, Mikhail Tal is famous for his attacking style, right? But look at the next move. He moved the king to h1. So it means that these players, they are so good in attacking and also at the same time in defending the position. So he played a prophylactic move. Now he is preventing this move. Why? Because if the queen goes to c5, now we can simply take the knight on d7, and you might ask, okay, what happens if the rook goes to d6? The rook is attacking the bishop and the queen, right? But now we have a beautiful checkmate in 2 moves, guys. I want you to pause this video and find 2-move checkmate for white. How can white checkmate in 2 moves? Yes, the best move here for white is to play queen takes f7, rook takes f7, and boom, checkmate. Very nice checkmate. Notice that the rook is pinned, right? Let's go back. You might have guessed this move, bishop takes f7. Bishop takes f7 is a good move, but it's not a forced checkmate. Yes, if the rook takes, you do have a checkmate after rook e8 and queen g7, but black doesn't have to take your bishop. This is something that actually a lot of my students sometimes forget, that you sacrifice a piece, but what if your opponent doesn't take? So the king can move to h8 in this position. But anyway, bishop takes f7 is a good move, but not the best move. So queen takes f7 is just a checkmate. So let's go back. Let's see what happened in the game. So after king h1, black didn't know what to do, so he just took a pawn. He said, okay, I'm gonna win a pawn and see what future holds. So he took a pawn, and obviously black's position is just very bad because his pieces are not well coordinated. So Mikhail Tal found another brilliant move here, rook e6. Very nice move. You're putting your rook in front of your opponent's pawn, but he cannot take it because this pawn is pinned not only 1 time but 2 times. This is kind of like a relative pin, because if the pawn takes, then we do have a checkmate in this position. So he can't take our knight, he cannot take our rook, and we want to also play rook d6 to put pressure on the knight because the knight is pinned. So black moved the rook back to b8, but at this point black's position is hopeless. So white played rook d6, black played rook d8 to protect the pawn, and here white played rook d1, and at this point Dargo just resigned because black cannot make a good move. So let's say if black wants to get rid of this pin, now we can move our bishop, for example, to f2 or f3 or g2, and now this rook is attacking the other rook. So it means if the knight wants to move, now we can take the rook on d8, and then we can have a beautiful checkmate in this position. So after bishop f3, the knight cannot be protected, and the next move is rook takes d7 because we have 3 pieces on the knight, 3 pieces attacking and just 2 pieces defending. So black is gonna lose the knight, which cost him the whole game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this game. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. I don't want you to lose me, so make sure you subscribe. And yeah, I will see you soon in the next video. And if you have any suggestions for my next video, please do let me in comment section. Thank you and have a great day or night wherever you are. Cheers.